The scrawny figure standing at the edge of his property looked like she might blow away with the next gust of wind that swept down from the Medicine Bow Mountains, but Logan MacAllister had survived enough Wyoming winters to recognize desperation when he saw it, and he knew in his bones that the dusty traveler wearing breeches 3 sizes too big and a battered hat pulled low was no boy at all. It was late summer in 1883, and the ranch needed help more than it needed his pride. Logan had been working the land alone since his brother died 2 years back, and the cattle operation was suffering for it. He stood on his porch, all 6 feet 4 inches of muscle and sun-weathered skin, his dark hair hanging past his shoulders because he had not bothered with a barber in months. His arms crossed over his broad chest as he watched the stranger approach with careful, measured steps. Looking for work, the stranger called out, voice pitched low and rough, like gravel scraping across wood. "Heard in town you might need hands." Logan studied the angular face beneath that hat, noting the sharp cheekbones and the way the shirt hung loose everywhere except where it had been, bound tight around the chest with what he suspected was strips of cloth beneath. The hands were small but calloused, and there was an intelligence in those hazel eyes that met his without flinching. "Name?" Logan asked, his voice a deep rumble. "Riley," came the answer. "Riley Anderson." No first name offered, no family mentioned, just Riley Anderson, and Logan recognized that kind of running too. He had done his share of it once, before he and his brother had claimed this land and built something real out of Wyoming dirt and determination. "You ever worked cattle?" Logan asked. "I can learn," Riley said, lifting that pointed chin. "I work hard, do not eat much, and I do not cause trouble." Logan almost smiled at that. The kid probably did not eat much because there had not been much to eat. Those clothes hung on a frame that was more bone than anything else, and there were shadows under those eyes that spoke of hard miles and harder nights. "Pay is not much," Logan said, naming a figure that was fair but not generous. "You'll sleep in the bunkhouse, work dawn to dusk, and do what I tell you without argument." "Yes, sir," Riley said immediately. Logan nodded once. "Put your gear in the bunkhouse. Then come find me at the barn. We will see what you are worth." He watched Riley walk toward the small building that housed ranch hands, noting the slight sway of hips that no amount of bulky clothing could quite hide. Logan turned back into his cabin and poured himself coffee that had gone cold hours ago. He drank it anyway, staring out the window at the mountains in the distance. He knew she was a woman, had known it the instant she stepped onto his land. The question was why she was pretending to be a boy, and whether that was going to cause him more trouble than her work was worth. But there had been something in those eyes, something fierce and frightened all at once, that made him keep his mouth shut about what he knew. Wyoming Territory in 1883 was not kind to women alone. Logan had seen enough in his 32 years to know that sometimes people did what they had to do to survive, and maybe this Riley Anderson deserved a chance to do just that. When Riley appeared at the barn 20 minutes later, Logan was already saddling his horse, a big roan gelding named Thunder. He gestured to the smaller mare in the next stall. "You ride?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Riley said, and reached for the saddle with the kind of confidence that told Logan this part, at least, was true. They rode out to check the fence line along the northern pasture, where Logan ran about 200 head of cattle. The work was simple enough, checking posts and wire, looking for breaks or weak spots that might let the herd wander. Logan watched Riley work from the corner of his eye, noting the careful attention to detail and the way those small hands handled the tools with surprising competence. "Where are you from?" Logan asked as they rode toward the next section. "East," Riley said vaguely. "Moved around a lot." "Family?" A pause. "Dead." Logan let it drop. He knew about dead family and the kind of silence that came after. They worked until the sun started sinking toward the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that made the whole world look like it was on fire. Logan led them back to the ranch, unsaddled the horses, and showed Riley where everything went in the barn. "Meals are at dawn, noon, and dusk," Logan said. "You will eat with me in the main house. I do not cook fancy, but there is plenty." Riley looked surprised. "The bunkhouse does not have, kitchen is better equipped," Logan said, which was true enough. The real truth was that he wanted to keep an eye on his new ranch hand, make sure she ate properly and did not collapse from exhaustion or starvation. But he was not about to say that out loud. Dinner that night was venison stew and fresh bread that Logan had baked that morning. He was a better cook than most men gave him credit for, having learned young that you either fed yourself well or you suffered for it. Riley ate like someone who had forgotten what full felt like, going through 2 bowls before finally sitting back with a look of contentment that made something tighten in Logan's chest. "Thank you," Riley said quietly. "That was the best meal I have had in a long time." Logan grunted and cleared the dishes. "You will earn it. Work starts at dawn." Riley stood and moved toward the door, then hesitated. "Mr. MacAllister?" "Logan," he corrected. "No need for formality out here." "Logan," Riley repeated, testing the name. "Thank you for giving me a chance." After Riley left, Logan sat by the fireplace with a glass of whiskey and thought about secrets and second chances. The smart thing would be to confront her, make her explain why she was lying. But that Logan had not gotten where he was by always doing the smart thing, and there was something about Riley Anderson that made him want to protect her, even from her own secrets. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Riley proved to be a quick learner and a tireless worker, up before dawn and not stopping until well after dusk. Logan found himself looking forward to their meals together, the easy conversation that developed as Riley slowly relaxed around him. She talked about books she had read, places she had seen in her wandering, dreams of maybe one day having a place of her own. Logan talked less, but he listened more than he had in years. There was something about Riley's voice, even pitched low as she kept it, that made him want to hear more. He found himself noticing small things, the way she smiled when she thought he was not looking, the careful grace with which she moved around the horses, the intelligence that shone in her eyes when they discussed ranch business. It was dangerous, what he was beginning to feel. Logan knew that, but knowing something and stopping it were 2 different things entirely. One morning in early October, Logan woke to find the first snow of the season dusting the ground. He dressed quickly and headed out to make sure the cattle were secure, only to find Riley already at the barn, checking on the horses. "Could not sleep," Riley said by way of explanation. "Figured I would get a head start." Logan nodded and moved to help with the morning chores. They worked in comfortable silence until Riley suddenly gasped and stumbled backward. Logan was at her side in an instant, his hand on her shoulder. "What is wrong?" "Nothing," Riley said quickly, but she was holding her side and her face had gone pale. "Just a stitch. I am fine." Logan did not believe that for a second. "Let me see." "No," Riley said, backing away. "I said I am fine." But Logan had already seen the blood seeping through the shirt. His jaw tightened. "You are hurt. Let me see it, or I will drag you to the doctor and opal myself." Riley's eyes widened with something close to panic. "Please no, I cannot. You do not understand." "Then explain it to me," Logan said, his voice gentler than his words. "I know you are hiding something, Riley. I have known since the day you walked onto my land." The color drained from Riley's face completely. "I do not know what you are talking about." Logan sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "I know you are a woman, have known from the start. So you can drop the act and let me help you, or you can keep bleeding and fall over, and I will help you anyway. Your choice." For a long moment, Riley just stared at him. Then her shoulders sagged, and something like relief mixed with fear crossed her face. "How long have you known?" "Since the first day," Logan said honestly. "Now let me see that wound." Riley hesitated, then slowly lifted her shirt. The bindings around her chest were visible now, and beneath them a long gash along her ribs that looked angry and infected. Logan cursed under his breath. "How did this happen?" "Caught it on a fence post 3 days ago," Riley admitted. "I thought I could take care of it myself, but it is not healing right." Logan's jaw clenched. 3 days she had been working with this, suffering in silence because she was too afraid to reveal her secret. "Come on. We are going to the house and I am going to clean this properly." "But the chores can wait," Logan said firmly. "You are no good to me if you die of infection." He half carried Riley to the house and sat her down at the kitchen table. The medical supplies were kept in a cabinet in the corner, and Logan had plenty of experience treating wounds. Living remote as they did, you learned to be your own doctor, or you did not survive long. "This is going to hurt," Logan warned as he cleaned the wound with whiskey. Riley bit her lip but did not make a sound, and Logan found himself admiring her toughness even as he cursed her stubbornness. "You should have told me." I was afraid you would send me away, Riley said quietly, if you knew I was a woman. Logan's hand stilled for a moment. Why would I do that? Because that is what everyone does, Riley said, and there was old pain in her voice. Women are not supposed to work ranches. We are supposed to be wives or teachers or whores, and I did not want to be any of those things. Logan finished bandaging the wound and sat back. What do you want to be? Riley looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time since she arrived, Logan saw her without the mask. Free, she said simply. I want to be free to choose my own life. Something shifted in Logan's chest, a recognition of kindred spirits. He had come west for the same reason, to escape the expectations of his family back east, to build something that was his and his alone. He understood that hunger for freedom better than most. Your secret is safe with me, Logan said. You can keep working here as Riley the ranch hand, if that is what you want, but no more hiding injuries. You get hurt, you tell me. Understood? Relief flooded Riley's face. Thank you. I do not know what to say. Say you will be more careful, Logan said gruffly, standing up. Now rest. I will handle the chores today. But that is an order, Riley, Logan said, and there was no room for argument in his voice. Riley stayed in the house that day, sleeping most of it away while her body fought off the infection. Logan worked twice as hard to cover for her and found himself checking on her every few hours, making sure she was eating the soup he had made, making sure the fever that had developed was not getting worse. By evening, the fever had broken and Riley was sitting up looking much better. Logan felt relief wash through him so strong it was almost painful. Feeling better? He asked from the doorway. Riley nodded. Much, thank you. I have not had anyone take care of me like this in a long time. Logan moved into the room and sat in the chair by the bed. How long have you been on your own? Riley was quiet for a moment, then seemed to make a decision. 3 years, since I was 18. My father wanted to marry me off to a man twice my age who had already buried 2 wives. I ran instead, cut my hair, stole my brother's clothes, and just kept moving. Logan felt anger rise in his chest at the thought of anyone forcing this brave, strong woman into something she did not want. Your family come looking? At first, Riley said. But I was careful, changed my name, kept moving. Eventually they gave up, I think. Or maybe they just did not care enough to keep searching. That is their loss, Logan said quietly. You are worth more than they ever knew. Riley's eyes met his, and there was something vulnerable in them that made Logan want to gather her up and promise that no one would ever hurt her again, but he kept his hands on his knees and his voice steady. Get some more rest, he said. Tomorrow we will see about getting you back to light work. Over the next few weeks, things changed between them in ways both subtle and profound. Riley no longer wore the binding around her chest quite so tight, and she let her voice relax into its natural register when they were alone. It was a softer voice than the gravel rough tone she had been using, with a musical quality that Logan found himself listening for. Riley Anderson was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with the delicate features society prized. She was all sharp angles and determined eyes, with a strength that showed in every movement. Her hair was growing out from its short crop, falling in honey-brown waves around her face when she took off her hat. Logan caught himself staring more often than he should, admiring the way she moved, the way she laughed at something funny, the way she looked at the mountains with longing in her eyes. He was falling for her. Logan knew it and could not seem to stop it, even though he knew it was complicated and dangerous and could end in nothing but heartache. Riley was young, only 21 to his 32 years, and she had made it clear she valued her freedom above all else. The last thing she probably wanted was another man trying to tie her down. But the heart wanted what it wanted, and Logan's heart wanted Riley Anderson with an intensity that sometimes took his breath away. Riley, for her part, seemed to be fighting her own battles. Logan caught her watching him when she thought he was not looking, her eyes tracking the movement of his muscles as he worked, lingering on his face during their evening meals. There was curiosity there, and something else that looked a lot like interest. One evening in late October, they were sitting on the porch watching the sunset when Riley finally broke the comfortable silence between them. Can I ask you something? Logan nodded. Anything. Why did you let me stay, when you knew I was lying to you? Logan was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. Because I saw someone who needed help and was too proud to ask for it. And because I understood what it felt like to want something different than what the world expected of you." Riley turned to look at him. "What did they expect of you?" "My family back in Boston wanted me to take over the family business, banking, investments, society parties. I tried it for a few years after college, but I felt like I was suffocating. My brother felt the same way. So we came west, bought this land, and built something real, something ours." "You went to college?" Riley asked, surprise in her voice. Logan allowed himself a small smile. "Harvard, if you can believe it. Class of 1872. I can quote Latin and discuss philosophy, but I would rather work with my hands and sleep under these stars than spend one more day in a starched collar discussing stock prices." "I would have liked to go to college," Riley said wistfully. "I love reading, learning new things, but that was not an option for a girl in my family." "You are smart enough," Logan said. "I have seen the way you think through problems, the questions you ask. You would have excelled." Riley smiled, and it transformed her face. "Thank you for saying that." They sat in silence again, but it was charged now with things unsaid. Logan was acutely aware of how close Riley was sitting, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her body. "Logan," Riley said softly. "Yeah? I am glad I came here, to your ranch. I have not felt this safe in 3 years." Logan's chest tightened. "You are safe here. I will make sure of that." Riley turned to look at him fully, and there was something in her eyes that made Logan's breath catch. "I know," she said. "That is what scares me." "Why does that scare you?" "Because it makes me want to stay," Riley admitted, "and I have been running for so long, I do not know how to stop." Logan reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and covered her small hand with his large one. "Maybe you do not have to run anymore. Maybe you could stay. Build something here, something that is yours." "I do not own anything," Riley said, but she did not pull her hand away. "I have no money, no property, nothing." "That is not true," Logan said. "You have yourself, your strength, your intelligence, your courage. That is worth more than all the money in the world." Riley's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You barely know me." "I know enough," Logan said. "I know you work harder than any hand I have ever hired. I know you are kind to the animals and honest in your dealings. I know you have a laugh that makes me smile even on the hardest days. I know that when you look at these mountains, you see the same beauty and possibility that I do." "Logan," Riley whispered, and it was half warning, half plea. "I know you are a woman." "Riley Anderson," Logan continued, his voice low and intense, "a strong, beautiful, remarkable woman. And I know that I have not been able to stop thinking about you since the day you walked onto my land." Riley's breath hitched. "You should not say things like that." "Why not?" "Because you are pretending to be a boy. We are past that." "Because you think you do not deserve to hear them?" "You do, because you are afraid." "So am I." "What are you afraid of?" Riley asked. Logan's thumb stroked across the back of her hand. "That you will leave, that I will not be enough to make you want to stay. That I am twice your size and a decade older and have no business feeling the way I do about you." "You are 11 years older." Riley corrected automatically, then seemed to realize what she had said. "And that does not matter to me." "What does matter to you?" Logan asked. Riley was quiet for a long moment, and Logan could see the war playing out behind her eyes. Finally she said, "You matter to me. This place matters to me. The way I feel when I am with you matters to me. And how do you feel when you are with me?" "Safe," Riley said immediately. "Respected. Seen for who I actually am, not who people expect me to be." She paused, then added in a whisper, "And something else. Something that terrifies me because I have never felt it before." Logan's heart was pounding so hard he was sure Riley could hear it. "What is that?" Riley looked up at him, and in her eyes was a vulnerability that took his breath away. "Wanted, not as property or a burden or a problem to be solved. Just wanted for myself." Logan could not help himself. He reached up with his free hand and gently cupped Riley's cheek, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. "You are wanted, Riley, more than you know." Riley leaned into his touch, her eyes fluttering closed. "This is dangerous." "I know," Logan said, "but maybe the best things are." When Riley opened her eyes again, there was decision in them. She leaned forward slowly, and Logan met her halfway, their lips coming together in a kiss that was gentle and sweet and filled with promise. Logan had kissed women before, but nothing had prepared him for this. Riley's lips were soft against his, and she tasted like the coffee they had shared after dinner. The kiss was careful at first, both of them testing boundaries, but then Riley's hand came up to rest on Logan's chest, and he felt her relax into him. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were breathing hard. Riley's cheeks were flushed, and Logan had to resist the urge to pull her back for another kiss. Riley started, then stopped, seeming at a loss for words. Yeah, Logan agreed. It was. They sat there on the porch, Logan's arm around Riley's shoulders, her head resting against his chest, and watched the stars come out one by one. Logan felt a peace settle over him that he had not known since before his brother died. Having Riley here, holding her like this, felt right in a way that nothing else ever had. "What happens now?" Riley asked eventually. "Whatever you want to happen," Logan said. "We can take this as slow as you need. I am not going anywhere, and neither are you if I have any say in it." Riley tilted her head back to look at him. "I am still going to wear these clothes and work the ranch. I am not going to suddenly become some delicate thing who needs protecting." Logan smiled. "I would never want you to be anything other than who you are, but you do not have to pretend to be a boy anymore. Not here, not with me. You can just be Riley." "I do not even know who that is anymore," Riley admitted. "I have been pretending for so long." "Then we will figure it out together," Logan said. "You can be whoever you want to be, wear whatever you want to wear, do whatever makes you happy. As long as you are here, that is all that matters to me." Riley smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing Logan had ever seen. "I think I can do that." The next few months were a revelation for both of them. Riley kept wearing her practical clothes and working the ranch, but there was a lightness to her now that had not been there before. She laughed more, talked more, let Logan see the woman she had been hiding under layers of deception. Logan found himself falling deeper every day. He loved the way Riley challenged him on ranch decisions, bringing fresh perspectives he had not considered. He loved the way she sang to the horses when she thought no one was listening. He loved the way she looked at him like he was something precious and important. They took things slowly, stealing kisses in the barn, holding hands during evening walks, sitting close together by the fire. Logan was careful not to push, aware that Riley had spent 3 years protecting herself from men who might hurt her. He wanted her to feel safe with him, to know that he would never demand anything she was not ready to give. Winter came hard and fast that year, with snow piling up and temperatures dropping below zero. The cattle had to be moved to lower pastures, and Logan and Riley worked long hours, making sure all the animals were secure and fed. It was brutal work, and more than once Logan insisted Riley stay inside when the weather turned truly dangerous. Riley, of course, ignored him and came out anyway, bundled in layers of wool and determination. Logan would have been angry if he had not been so grudgingly impressed by her stubbornness. One night in late December, a blizzard hit that was worse than anything Logan had seen in years. The wind howled like a living thing, and snow fell so thick you could not see 3 feet in front of you. Logan and Riley had just finished securing the barn when a tree branch came down, missing Riley by inches. Logan's heart stopped. He grabbed Riley and pulled her against the barn wall, his body shielding hers from the wind. "We need to get to the house," Logan shouted over the storm. "Now." They made their way through the blinding snow, Logan keeping Riley close, his arm around her waist. By the time they stumbled through the cabin door, both of them were covered in ice and shaking with cold. Logan immediately started building up the fire while Riley shed the frozen outer layers. He got the stove going and put water on to heat, then turned to check on Riley. She was standing by the fire, her teeth chattering, looking smaller and more vulnerable than he had ever seen her. Without thinking, Logan crossed to her and pulled her into his arms, wrapping her in his warmth. "You could have been killed," Logan said, and his voice was rough with emotion. "That branch missed you by inches." "But it did miss me," Riley said against his chest. "I am fine." "This time," Logan said. He pulled back enough to look down at her. "Riley, I cannot lose you. Do you understand that?" "I cannot." Riley's eyes widened at the intensity in his voice. "Logan, I love you," Logan said, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "I know it is too soon and maybe I have no right, but I love you, Riley Anderson. I love your strength and your stubbornness, and the way you face down every challenge like it is a personal insult. I love how you sing to the horses and argue with me about cattle and look at the mountains like they hold all the answers. I love you, and the thought of anything happening to you terrifies me." Riley stared at him, her hazel eyes wide with shock. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face. "You love me?" "Yes," Logan said simply. "I love you." "Good," Riley said, and stood on her toes to kiss him. "Because I love you too." Logan felt like his heart might explode from joy. He kissed Riley back, pouring everything he felt into it, and when they finally broke apart, both of them were breathless and grinning. "Say it again," Logan said. Riley laughed. "I love you." "Logan MacAllister, I think I have loved you since you let me stay, even though you knew I was lying. I think I have loved you since the first time you cooked me dinner and treated me like I mattered. I think I have loved you since I realized that you see me, really see me, and still want me anyway. Always," Logan said. "I will always want you." They stood there by the fire, holding each other as the storm raged outside, and Logan felt something settle in his soul. This was home. Not the ranch, not the land, but this woman in his arms. She was his home, and he would spend the rest of his life making sure she knew it. That night, Riley did not go back to the bunkhouse. She stayed in the cabin, in Logan's bed, wrapped in his arms. They did not make love, not yet, but they held each other through the night, sharing warmth and whispered promises. When morning came, the storm had passed, leaving behind a world transformed by snow. Everything was white and pristine and beautiful, and Logan woke to find Riley already awake, watching him with soft eyes. "Morning," Logan said, his voice rough with sleep. "Good morning," Riley replied, and leaned in to kiss him. They spent the morning digging out from the storm, checking on the animals, making sure everything had survived the night. It was hard work, but they did it together, and Logan found himself marveling at how natural it felt to work alongside Riley, to have her as his partner in all things. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a new routine. Riley moved her things into the main cabin, and they began living as a couple in truth. Logan was careful to give her space when she needed it, aware that she was still learning to trust, still learning that not all men would try to control her. Riley bloomed under his care and respect. She started wearing clothes that fit her properly, trading the oversized men's attire for practical skirts and sturdy boots when she was not working cattle. She let her hair grow longer, and Logan loved running his fingers through the soft waves. They talked for hours about everything and nothing, sharing dreams and fears and hopes for the future. Riley wanted to learn to read better, so Logan taught her from his collection of books. She wanted to understand the business side of ranching, so Logan showed her the accounts and explained how everything worked. In turn, Riley taught Logan how to see his ranch through fresh eyes. She suggested improvements he had not considered, found efficiencies in their processes, and brought an energy to the place that had been missing since his brother died. Winter gave way to spring, and with it came new challenges and new joys. The cattle gave birth to calves, and Riley proved to have a natural way with the young animals. She would spend hours bottle feeding the ones whose mothers could not nurse, singing to them in that beautiful voice of hers. Logan found himself thinking about the future in ways he never had before. He had been content to just survive, to keep the ranch running and nothing more. But now he wanted to build something bigger, something that would last. He wanted to make this place a real home, not just for him, but for Riley too. On a warm evening in May, Logan took Riley on a ride to his favorite spot on the ranch, a high meadow with a view of the mountains that took your breath away. They had packed a picnic, and they sat on a blanket watching the sunset paint the sky in impossible colors. "Riley," Logan said, his heart pounding, "there is something I want to ask you." Riley turned to look at him, curiosity in her eyes. "What is it?" Logan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, nothing fancy, just a simple gold band with a small diamond. It had belonged to his grandmother, the only piece of family heirloom he had brought west with him. "I know we have not been together long," Logan said, "and I know you value your freedom and your independence. I am not asking you to give that up, but I am asking you to share your life with me officially, to be my wife, my partner, my equal in all things. Will you marry me, Riley Anderson?" Riley's eyes filled with tears. Before you answer," Logan interrupted, "I need you to know what I am offering. This ranch would be yours too, legally. I will make sure of it." You would have a say in every decision, control of your own money, the freedom to keep working the land or pursue something else if you want. I am not asking you to become my property. I am asking you to become my partner." Riley was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "You really mean that?" "Every word," Logan said. "You are the strongest, bravest, most incredible woman I have ever known. I want to spend the rest of my life by your side, if you will have me." Riley launched herself at him, nearly knocking him over. "Yes," she said between kisses. "Yes, yes, yes, I will marry you." Logan laughed and caught her, holding her tight as relief and joy flooded through him. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly, like it had been made for her. "I love you," Riley said, looking up at him with shining eyes. "I never thought I could have this. A home, a partner who respects me, a future that is mine to choose. You have given me everything I thought I could never have." "You gave it to yourself," Logan said, cupping her face in his hands. "You had the courage to run, to fight for your freedom, to take a chance on a grumpy mountain man with a failing ranch. All I did was recognize how extraordinary you are." They made love that night, under the stars, and it was everything Logan had dreamed of and more. Riley was passionate and responsive, meeting him as an equal, and Logan made sure she knew how cherished she was, how desired, how deeply loved. Afterward, they lay tangled together on the blanket, watching the stars wheel overhead, and planned their future. They would marry in the fall, after the busy summer season. It would be a small ceremony, just them and a few friends from town. They would build an addition onto the cabin, expand the ranch, maybe start a family in a few years when Riley was ready. "I want children," Riley said, her head on Logan's chest. "Someday. I want to raise them here, in this beautiful place, and teach them that they can be whoever they want to be." "We will," Logan promised. "However many you want, whenever you are ready, we have all the time in the world." The summer of 1884 was the happiest time of Logan's life. He and Riley worked the ranch together, building their future one day at a time. Word spread in Opal that Logan MacAllister's ranch hand was actually a woman, and that they were planning to marry. Some people were scandalized, but most were supportive, particularly the other women in town who admired Riley's courage. Riley started spending time with some of the women, learning skills she had never had the chance to learn before. She befriended the schoolteacher, a woman named Margaret, who shared her love of books, and the blacksmith's wife, a practical woman named Sarah, who taught her advanced sewing and cooking. Logan watched Riley blossom in the community, seeing her gain confidence and connections. She was no longer hiding, no longer running. She was Riley Anderson, soon to be Riley MacAllister, and she stood proud. In September, they were married in the little church in Opal. Riley wore a simple white dress that Margaret had helped her sew, and Logan wore his best suit. He had gotten a haircut for the occasion, though Riley had made him promise not to cut it too short. She liked running her fingers through his long hair, she said with a blush. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Logan kissed Riley with all the love in his heart, and the small crowd of friends cheered. They had a celebration at the ranch afterward, with music and dancing and more food than Logan had seen in years. Everyone stayed late into the night, celebrating not just the marriage, but the community they had all built together in this wild, beautiful place. When everyone finally left and Logan and Riley were alone, Logan carried his wife over the threshold of their home and set her down gently. "Hello, Mrs. MacAllister," Logan said, smiling down at her. "Hello, Mr. MacAllister," Riley replied, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Thank you for today. It was perfect." "You are perfect," Logan said, and carried her to their bedroom. The next year passed in a blur of happiness and hard work. The ranch thrived under their joint management, growing from 200 head of cattle to nearly 400. They hired 2 additional hands, both young men who were respectful to Riley and worked hard under Logan's direction. Riley continued to surprise Logan with her business acumen and her way with animals. She started a small horse breeding program, carefully selecting stock and training the foals. Within a few years, MacAllister horses were becoming known throughout the territory for their quality and temperament. In the spring of 1886, Riley came to Logan with news that made his heart soar. She was pregnant, expecting their first child in the late fall. Logan was simultaneously thrilled and terrified, wanting to wrap Riley in cotton and protect her from everything. Riley, of course, refused to be coddled. She kept working the ranch right up until the last month, only stopping when Logan threatened to tie her to a chair if she did not slow down. Even then, she managed the books and handled correspondence, refusing to be idle. Their son was born on a cold November night, with Sarah the blacksmith's wife attending as midwife. It was a long labor, and Logan spent most of it pacing outside the bedroom, his heart in his throat every time he heard Riley cry out. But when Sarah finally opened the door and told him he could come in, Logan found Riley propped up in bed, exhausted but glowing, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in blankets. "Meet your son," Riley said, her voice tired but filled with wonder. Logan approached slowly, almost afraid to believe it was real. He looked down at the baby and felt his world shift. The infant was tiny and red-faced, with a shock of dark hair and eyes that would probably be hazel like his mother's. "He is perfect," Logan whispered. "Lucas," Riley said. "I thought we could name him Lucas, after your middle name." Logan's throat tightened with emotion. His middle name was indeed Lucas, though he rarely used it. "Lucas MacAllister. I like it." He sat carefully on the edge of the bed and reached out to touch his son's tiny hand. Lucas immediately grabbed his finger with surprising strength, and Logan felt tears prick his eyes. "I love you," Logan said, looking at Riley. "I love you so much. Thank you for this, for him, for everything." Riley smiled, tears streaming down her own face. "I love you too. We made something pretty incredible, did we not?" "We did," Logan agreed. The next few months were an adjustment as they learned to be parents. Lucas was a healthy baby with a good set of lungs, and Logan found himself walking the floor at all hours, bouncing his son and singing off key lullabies. Riley was a natural mother, patient and loving, though she admitted to Logan in private that sometimes the responsibility of keeping another human alive was overwhelming. "You are doing amazing," Logan assured her. "You are the best mother Lucas could ask for." As Lucas grew, so did the ranch. By 1887, they had expanded their land holdings and were running over 600 head of cattle. They had built a proper barn, expanded the cabin into a real house, and established themselves as one of the most successful operations in the region. Riley had proven herself time and again, not just to Logan but to the entire community. She was respected as a rancher, a businesswoman, and a mother. The little girl who had run away 3 years before was gone, replaced by a confident, capable woman who knew her worth. When Lucas was 2 years old, Riley became pregnant again. This time it was a daughter born on a beautiful spring morning in 1889. They named her Rebecca, and she had Riley's hazel eyes and Logan's dark hair. Logan held his daughter and marveled at the life he had built. He had everything he had ever wanted and so much more than he had ever dared dream of. A successful ranch, a wife he adored who was his true partner in all things, and 2 healthy children who would grow up knowing they could be anything they wanted. That evening, after the children were asleep, Logan and Riley sat on their porch watching the sunset. It was the same porch where they had shared their first kiss years ago, but everything was different now. "Better. What are you thinking about?" Riley asked, leaning against Logan's shoulder. "How lucky I am," Logan said honestly. "How different my life might have been if one scrawny kid had not shown up looking for work." Riley laughed. "I was not that scrawny." "You were," Logan said. "You were half-starved and desperate, and I knew you were lying from the first moment. But I looked at you and saw someone worth taking a chance on." "Best decision you ever made?" Riley asked teasingly. "Absolutely," Logan said, pulling her closer. "You turned my life upside down in the best possible way. You made this place a home. You gave me a family. You showed me that strength comes in many forms, and that the bravest thing you can do is be yourself, even when the world tells you to be something else." Riley tilted her head up to kiss him. "You gave me freedom. Real freedom, not just the running kind. You gave me a place to belong, a purpose, a future. You saw me when I was trying so hard to be invisible, and you loved me anyway." "I will always love you," Logan said, "until the day I die and beyond that if possible." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the sounds of the ranch settling down for the night. The cattle lowing in the distance, the horses nickering in the barn, the wind sighing through the grass. "Do you ever regret it?" Logan asked suddenly. "Giving up your freedom to marry me, to be tied to this place?" Riley was quiet for a moment, considering her answer. "I did not give up my freedom," she said finally. "I chose what to do with it." That is the difference. Every day I choose to be here with you, building this life. That is not a cage, Logan. That is a choice, and it is mine to make." Logan kissed the top of her head. "I am glad you keep choosing me." "Always," Riley said. "I will always choose you." The years passed in a rhythm of seasons and growth. Lucas grew into a strong, thoughtful boy who loved working with the horses like his mother. Rebecca was fearless and independent, constantly getting into mischief and exploring every corner of the ranch. In 1892, Riley gave birth to twins, two more sons they named Luke and Landon. The house was suddenly full of noise and chaos and love, and Logan found himself stretched thin between ranch work and helping with the children. But he would not have changed it for anything. Coming home to find Riley teaching Rebecca to read, or Lucas showing his younger brothers how to feed the chickens, or the twins toddling around getting into everything made every hard day worth it. The ranch continued to prosper. They were now one of the largest operations in Wyoming, with nearly 1,000 head of cattle and a thriving horse breeding program. They employed a dozen hands year-round, and Riley managed them all with the same combination of fairness and firmness that had made her such a good rancher from the start. In town, Riley had become a respected figure in her own right. She served on the school board, helped found a library, and mentored other women who wanted to break free from traditional roles. She never forgot where she had come from, and she made sure to help others find their own freedom just as she had found hers. Logan aged well, his dark hair going gray at the temples but his strength remaining. He was in his mid-40s now, still working the ranch every day alongside his sons as they grew old enough to help. He had built something that would last, something to pass down to his children and their children after them. On their 10th wedding anniversary in 1894, Logan took Riley back to the high meadow where he had proposed. The children were with Sarah in town for the day, giving Logan and Riley a rare day alone together. They sat on a blanket, just as they had a decade earlier, and looked out at the mountains that had witnessed their entire love story. 10 years, Riley said wonderingly. It feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago all at once. Do you remember what I said when I proposed? Logan asked. Riley smiled. You said you were offering me partnership, equality, freedom to be myself. You said you wanted to spend your life by my side. And have I kept those promises? Logan asked. Riley turned to look at him, her eyes serious, every single day. You have never tried to change me or control me. You have supported my dreams and celebrated my successes. You have been my partner in every sense of the word. I could not have asked for a better husband or a better life. Logan reached into his pocket and pulled out another small box. Then I have something for you. Riley opened the box to find a necklace, a simple gold chain with a pendant shaped like the Wyoming mountains. It was beautiful and perfect, and Riley's eyes filled with tears. Logan, it is beautiful. Look at the back, Logan said. Riley turned the pendant over and saw the inscription, For Riley, who taught me that the bravest thing is to be free. Riley was crying now, happy tears that she did not bother to hide. I love it. I love you. Logan fastened the necklace around her neck, then pulled her into his arms. Here is to 10 more years, and 10 after that, and however many we get. I want to spend every single one of them with you. You will, Riley promised. I am not going anywhere. This is my home. You are my home. And I have never been happier. They made love in the meadow, their bodies still fitting together as perfectly as they had that first time years ago. Afterward, they lay tangled together, talking about their children, the ranch, the future they were building together. Lucas wants to go to college, Riley said. He is interested in veterinary medicine. I think we should encourage him. Logan nodded. He would be good at that. And he can always come back to the ranch after. Bring that knowledge with him. Rebecca wants to be a rancher like us, Riley continued. She is already better with the cattle than half our hands, Logan smiled. She is her mother's daughter, strong, stubborn, and brilliant. She will do whatever she sets her mind to. And the twins are still young, but they will find their paths too, Riley said. I want them all to have choices, Logan, real choices about what they do with their lives. They will, Logan assured her. We are raising them to think for themselves, to be brave enough to forge their own paths, just like their mother. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in those familiar beautiful colors, Logan held Riley close and thought about the incredible journey they had taken together. From that first day when a scrawny kid had shown up looking for work to this moment 10 years later, surrounded by a family and a life they had built together. He had known she was a woman from the very first day. But what he had not known, what he could never have predicted, was that she would become his entire world. That she would take his lonely existence and fill it with love and laughter and purpose. That she would show him what true partnership looked like, what it meant to stand beside someone as an equal. "What are you thinking about?" Riley asked. Echoing the question she had asked so many times over the years, Logan kissed her forehead. "How grateful I am. For you, for our family, for this life. I think about that day you walked onto my land, and I cannot imagine what my life would be like if I had turned you away." "You never would have," Riley said confidently. "You saw someone who needed help, and you gave it. That is who you are, Logan MacAllister. A good man with a big heart. You bring out the best in me," Logan said. "You always have." They rode back to the ranch as the stars came out, arriving home just as Sarah was bringing the children back. Lucas and Rebecca came running to greet them, the twins toddling behind as fast as their little legs could carry them. Logan scooped up Rebecca while Riley caught the twins, and they all went inside together. The house was warm and bright, filled with the sounds of children laughing and playing. Logan looked around at his family, at the life he had built with the woman he loved, and felt complete. That night, after the children were in bed, Logan and Riley sat by the fire as they had so many nights before. Riley was reading one of the many books that filled their shelves now, while Logan went over the accounts. It was a comfortable, domestic scene that a younger Logan would never have imagined for himself. But it was perfect. This was everything he had ever wanted and more than he had ever dreamed possible. "Riley," Logan said, setting down his papers. She looked up from her book. "Yes?" "Thank you," Logan said simply, "for choosing me, for staying, for building this life with me, for being exactly who you are." Riley set down her book and crossed to him, settling into his lap like she belonged there, because she did. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, "for knowing who I was even when I was trying to hide, for loving me anyway, for giving me a home and a family and a future I never thought I could have." Logan wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. "I love you, Riley MacAllister, more than words can say." "I love you too," Riley said, "more than anything in this world." They sat there by the fire, wrapped in each other and in the life they had built as the night deepened around them. Outside, the Wyoming wind whispered through the grass, carrying the scent of sage and the promise of tomorrow. The cattle settled in the fields, the horses dozed in the barn, and the mountains stood silent watch over it all. It had been a long journey for both of them. Logan from Boston society to Wyoming rancher, Riley from a girl on the run to a woman who owned her own destiny. They had found each other in this wild, beautiful place, and together they had built something that would last. Years continued to pass, bringing new challenges and new joys. The ranch grew even larger, becoming one of the most respected operations in the entire territory. When Wyoming became a state in 1890, Logan and Riley were there to celebrate, proud to be part of the newest addition to the nation. Lucas went to veterinary school as he had dreamed, returning to the ranch 4 years later with new knowledge and ideas. He brought with him a wife, a smart, capable woman named Mary, and they built their own home on the ranch property. Rebecca grew into a formidable rancher in her own right, eventually taking over much of the daily operations as Logan began to slow down in his 60s. She married a man who respected her strength and intelligence, and together expanded the horse breeding program into one of the best in the West. The twins, Luke and Landon, decided to start their own ranch on adjacent property, using money they had saved and a loan from their parents. Logan and Riley helped them get established, proud to see their sons striking out on their own while still remaining close. By the time Logan was 70 years old, he had 10 grandchildren and another on the way. The original ranch house had been expanded multiple times and was always full of family. Sunday dinners were loud, chaotic affairs with 3 generations gathered around the table, sharing stories and laughter. Riley aged gracefully, her hair turning silver but her hazel eyes still bright with intelligence and humor. She had achieved everything she had set out to do and more. She was respected throughout Wyoming as a businesswoman and a pioneer, one of the first women to own and operate her own ranch. But more than that, she was happy. She had built a life on her own terms, surrounded by people who loved and respected her for exactly who she was. She had never had to hide or run again after that first day she had walked onto Logan's ranch. On a warm spring evening in 1903, Logan and Riley sat on their porch as they had countless times before. They were older now, their bodies not as strong as they once were, but their love had only deepened with time. "Do you ever think about that first day?" Riley asked, her hand in Logan's. "When I showed up, pretending to be a boy," Logan chuckled, "all the time. You were so determined, so fierce. I knew in that moment that you were going to change my life." "Did you really know I was a woman right away?" Riley asked. "Or is that just something you say now?" "I really knew," Logan said. "I could see it in the way you moved, the way you carried yourself. But more than that, I could see your spirit. And that is what drew me to you, not whether you were a man or a woman, but who you were inside." Riley leaned her head on his shoulder. "We have had a good life, have we not?" "The best," Logan agreed, "better than I ever could have imagined." "Any regrets?" Riley asked. Logan thought about it seriously. "Not a one. Every choice I made led me to you, and that makes everything worth it. How about you?" "No regrets," Riley said firmly. "I have lived exactly the life I wanted to live. I am free, I am loved, and I am surrounded by family. What more could anyone ask for?" They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the mountains they both loved. The ranch stretched out before them, a testament to everything they had built together. The cattle grazed peacefully, the horses played in the pastures, and in the distance they could see smoke rising from the chimneys of their children's homes. "I love you, Logan MacAllister," Riley said softly. "Thank you for giving me a chance all those years ago. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for loving me." "I love you, Riley MacAllister," Logan replied, pulling her closer. "Thank you for walking onto my ranch that day. Thank you for staying. Thank you for making my life infinitely better than it ever would have been without you." As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Logan and Riley remained on their porch, wrapped in each other and in the life they had built. They had started as two wounded souls seeking something better, and they had found it in each other. The mountain man and the girl pretending to be a boy had become partners, lovers, parents, and grandparents. They had built an empire together out of Wyoming dirt and determination. But more importantly, they had built a love that had lasted through decades, through challenges and triumphs, through everything life had thrown at them. And as they sat there under the stars, their hands clasped together, both of them knew that they would do it all over again in a heartbeat. Every struggle, every hardship, every moment had been worth it to end up here, together, surrounded by the evidence of their love. The MacAllister Ranch would stand for generations to come, a lasting legacy of what two people could build when they came together as true equals. And at its foundation was a love story that had started with a simple act of kindness and had grown into something extraordinary. Logan had known she was a woman from the very first day. But what he had discovered over the years since was that Riley was so much more than that. She was his partner, his equal, his best friend, and the love of his life. She was the reason he got up every morning and the last thought he had before falling asleep every night. And as they watched the stars wheel overhead, just as they had done countless times before, both Logan and Riley knew that they had found something precious and rare. They had found true love, built on respect and equality, and the freedom to be exactly who they were meant to be. It was everything either of them had ever wanted, and more than either had dared to dream. And it all started that day in 1883 when a scrawny kid in clothes 3 sizes too big had walked onto a ranch in Opal, Wyoming, looking for work and a chance at a new life. Logan had given her that chance. Riley had taken it and turned it into something beautiful. They had built a legacy that would last long after they were gone, but more importantly, they had built a love that would echo through eternity. As the night deepened and the air grew cool, Logan and Riley finally rose from their porch and went inside to the home they had built together. Their children and grandchildren would visit tomorrow, filling the house with noise and laughter once again. But tonight it was just the two of them, just as it had been in the beginning. Logan helped Riley prepare for bed, their movements synchronized after so many years together. They climbed into the bed they had shared for nearly 2 decades, and Logan pulled Riley close, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. "Good night, my love," Logan whispered. "Good night," Riley replied. "I will see you in the morning." And they fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms, secure in the knowledge that they had found their happily ever after. Against all odds, despite all the challenges, they had built something real and lasting. They had found love, freedom, and happiness in the wild beauty of Wyoming, and they had done it together. The mountain man and the woman who had disguised herself as a boy had found their place in the world, and in doing so, they had found each other, and that made all the difference.